Welcome back to another episode of Better Than I Found It, the podcast all things college golf. You're listening to Mike McGraw, the men's golf coach at Baylor. Joining me today on Better Than I Found It is PGA Tour professional Alex Noren. Alex, a 10-time winner on the European Tour, has been a full member of the PGA Tour since 2018 and is one of the most disciplined and hard-working golfers I've ever known. I had a front row seat to watch this incredible work ethic as his assistant coach when he played at Oklahoma State from 2001 to 2005. Alex and I reminisce about his time at OSU, and he speaks of his great respect for Mike Holder, the head coach at the time. Alex may be a world-class player, but he's much more than that. He's an outstanding human being. I know you'll enjoy this interview. All right, everyone, let's welcome PGA Tour player Alex Noren to Better Than I Found It. Alex, it's great to have you on the podcast today. I've been wanting to do this for a long time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I always enjoy your company, so this will be fun, I think.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I think we had dinner together when I was caddying for Kyle Jones at the Korn Ferry Tour School, probably December of 2015. A bunch of OSU guys were there. We had dinner, and that's the last time I've seen you, but I've certainly watched you from afar.
Yeah, you look very similar still. You look fit.
Well, I'm in good shape, but I'm not in as good a shape as Alex Noren. So let's get that down on the record right now. Okay. You had a workout this morning, correct?
I did. I had a good summer in Sweden. I tried to be a dad and try to play golf at the same time, which, I enjoyed the dad life a little too much maybe in the summer and got a few small injuries in my neck and stuff. So I finally get rid of that, and now I can work out and practice again, and the kids go to school so I can go have my usual daily routine, and everything is good.
That's great. Well, I do want to talk about your family just a little bit later, but let's do this. I know all of my listeners, and I got a pretty loyal listener base. I mean, it's not a big listener base, but it's pretty loyal. And a lot of them have been asking me, are you ever going to have Alex Noren on here? And I said, I'm going to make that happen. So, but they're really wanting to find out about your life as a professional, but I want to start earlier than that. So young kid growing up in Stockholm, Sweden, how in the world did you get into golf? And then how did that take us to Stillwater?
Yeah, well, I was kind of lucky being, I think in 1986, there was a golf course opening up in my sort of suburb hometown to Stockholm. My grandfather and my father started playing, and I was 4 years at the time. So they, it was kind of a big golf boom in Sweden. And there was a guy, Sven Tumba, who was a friend of Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus, I think. Yeah, he passed away, but he still had, a lot of influence in Swedish golf. It got pretty famous, and so all these golfing opportunities opened up, and if I wanted to hang out with my family, I had to be at the golf course. So I just kind of came along, and my brother's 5 years older, so he started playing, and it was a 5-minute car ride from our summer house, and it was a good place to hang out. There was a lot of kids, a lot of happy people being outside all summer. And summer in Sweden is the time of the year in Sweden. Everybody's happy, long days, and you get a lot of golf in a kind of short period of time.
You played a lot of golf, I'm sure, till 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock in the evening because it was still daylight, right?
Yeah, so that I see my brother's kids now, they probably put in like 10 hours, 12-hour days out there, and in 3 months they get pretty good. And then you got the winter season, which helps you to not get burned out. You always look forward to play golf, and then you got other sports to enjoy in the times when it's a little difficult to play in Sweden.
That's great to hear. We had quite a few Swedes at Oklahoma State before me, during my time there, and even after they've had. So let's talk about how you got to Oklahoma State. I was the assistant coach, and Mike Holder had two resumes of Swedes, and he had had good Swedes before you, and he had good ones after you. But he said, which of these two do you think? And one of them was Andreas Hogberg.
Yeah.
And the other was you. And
so he was my roommate in high school.
That's the point. That's the point I know. So I'm going to give a little history right here. So Mike and I, neither one were going to see you play.
Yeah.
So I had to look at the resumes and decide. And I thought, this is a test. He's putting me under pressure here. How am I going to make this happen? And all I remember was your records were fairly similar. You guys were both really good players. And we were going to find out from the Swedish national coach, if we'd made a good decision at that point or whatever. But I looked at it, and there was a photo on there of you holding a flag stick with your hat off. You had just made a hole in one, and you had this big smile on your face. And that was the photo you sent with your resume. And so I told Coach Holder, I said, well, that's the guy we want. He makes holes in one, and he's happy. Did you know how you got chosen or not?
Yeah, I mean, I went to Arizona State on a recruiting trip, and it was beautiful. There were beautiful girls running around. And I was like, this is the place, and I could play golf, and it's warm. And then I went up north to Oklahoma State, and I was like, this golf course and this practice facility is just outstanding, and it beats the rest of the stuff down in Arizona State. So I was, and I saw Coach Holder for about 2 minutes before he had to go, and I hang out with you for 2 days, I think.
2 days.
It was dormant. The whole course was dormant, but you could still see how beautiful it was. And I don't know, I've always had a love for people that have high ambitions, and and Coach seemed that way, and the golf course kind of looked like a place where people wanted to get better, and it wasn't too different from the high school place I went at a golf high school, and this was kind of an upgrade, but a continuation of that life I just lived in south of Sweden at the time.
Well, and I remember that visit very well. But I also remember when you got to school, I made a mistake. I had the incorrect day of the start of the school year, and I had you here 2 weeks early for school. So you waited 2 weeks in Stillwater. Remind me of that time, because I want to apologize publicly.
Yeah, I hung out with the women's coach, right? Amy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Amy
Can't
Weeks.
remember. Yeah, Amy Weeks. Yeah. So, and I remember I had no car, and it was about 100 degrees. Mm-hmm. And the greatest memory I have is when I walked to Walmart to buy food, and the best thing about it was the sprinkler systems were on. So I walked through the sprinkler system to cool down, to be able to walk that, I don't know, a mile or something to Walmart. And it was kind of like in winter in Sweden. I had 2 weeks where I wasn't allowed to play or practice some NCAA rules, which for a Swede felt very, weird. I was like, as soon as it's warm outside, you're able to play. But so those 2 weeks were pretty good for me, because I hung out probably a week with my roommates, Zach and Dayton. And as I wasn't shy, but I was sort of maybe more shy golf wise than socially. So they were, I was intimidated by their sort of results in high school and stuff. And then when we went out to play, we were probably pretty even. So,
yeah, I mean, I think you came in, at least on an equal basis with both of those guys for sure. But anyway, so you had that couple of weeks where you couldn't play, but you got school started. And I remember two things from that fall. The one is the first grade checks that came in. Mm-hmm. And I know you had a language barrier, and it wasn't perfect, but you had a D in algebra. And so I went down to the practice tee, because I didn't tell Mike Holder. And I went down there and said, Alex, do you realize you have a D in algebra? I know it's the first grade check, but Alex, this is bad. and Mike Holder's not going to be happy. And you looked at me, you said, no, I called my mom. She said a D is no problem. I said, you see that man coming down the hill right there? He thinks it's a problem. So we need to work on it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think my mom got the grades wrong. But I was sort of passing, but not passing by much, I guess. So,
well, but you ended up being a great student at Oklahoma State. But anyway, it was your first month over there. And the other
yeah.
thing is you injured your wrist in the fall of your freshman year, and you didn't get to play the rest of the fall.
No, so I was at Stillwater Country Club. I think it was a little sandy out in the rough, and I was under a tree and hit a root, and it was pretty bad there. And then it disappeared maybe like after 6 weeks. But you guys didn't redshirt me, but yeah, I started in the spring. Yeah.
Right. We actually took you out of a red shirt year that year because we had one player who had some troubles and couldn't finish the year, who was a really good player at the time. And we thought we have to take him out of red shirt. And you played beautifully from the start. I mean, it was like you were ready to go.
Yeah, the only problem I think Coach Holder walked with me or something the first tournament. Wasn't it Phoenix
Yeah.
or Tucson
Phoenix.
or something?
It was Phoenix.
And I was like, I wonder how a golf ball sounds like when it just smashes into a cactus. And I did, and I made triple on one hole. And that's a memory I still have. But I think I still played okay that tournament. Yeah.
Yeah, you played fine. You actually had a top 10 in that tournament.
Okay.
Your spring was mixed results, but you did great, especially throwing you into the mix out of nowhere. Tell me about the language barrier, because kids who come from another country, and not only was it a language barrier from Swedish to English, but Swedish to Oklahoman, Okie.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a little different.
Yeah, I mean, it was, yeah. And also Oklahomans, I think, weren't so used to foreigners. Like if you were maybe going to New York or Florida or something. So I remember a couple of words that were really tricky. Chef, for example,
Yeah.
was I didn't understand why chief was T sound, and chef all of a sudden no T sound, and then chicken I was always saying chicken, and all these J was yay, and then I finally got over it, and then my brother came and visit, and the guys were stopped laughing at my mistakes, and then my brother did the same. Yeah, they thought it was funny, but no, the guys were great. I think we had a great team, good camaraderie, and I liked everybody, and yeah, it was a great time.
During your time in Oklahoma City, you had teammates like Hunter Mahan, Pablo Martin. As far as both those guys were college players of the year.
Yeah.
So you had great players around you for sure. And we were pretty successful. I remember we hosted the national championship your second year at Karsten Creek. And that was probably the hottest golf you'd ever played as far as temperature. It was 100 degrees that last round.
Yeah.
That had to be the first time you ever played in 100 degrees.
Yeah. And it's, both good memories and pretty bad memories. But yeah. And also, first time I ever saw a golf course, or like during my first year, I saw golf courses that were unbelievable. Like Carson Creek could have hosted a US Open at that time. We played the other courses that were US Open or PGA held big championships. So it was, to go to Oklahoma State for me from Sweden was the best thing, especially the combination of golf course teammates that were that good, like you said, and then also you and Coach Holder that had high standards, and I understood that results are the most important things if I was gonna ever be a pro. So it didn't matter if you had good potential as a player. As in Sweden, we didn't have that many good players, so I could be on the team even though maybe I had a bad month of play, but because they believed in me, and that was not the case in college golf. So.
You talk about Coach Holder and myself. Obviously, we were different personalities, and any player that comes into college golf, if he has a head coach and an assistant coach, they're probably going to be different personalities for sure. And so remember, I worked for Mike Holder for 16 years and you played for him for 4 years. And we obviously both know he was a tough man. He was very disciplined, but you happened, and I want you to talk about that and how that benefited you as a player, because I know it did. But also, you were one of the most disciplined guys I've ever seen. I've never coached anybody like you, that truly woke up every day with an amazing attitude to get better. It was very disciplined. So go ahead and speak on those.
Yeah, I mean the my own discipline stuff, I didn't really know that I had that. I just like golf. I just like sports, and I never think I ever sacrificed anything because I didn't. The option was more boring than to go play golf or go to the gym and hang out with my friends. And I've been lucky enough to be in places where I've had good friends. So yeah, that part I kind of probably owe from my parents. They're pretty ambitious and work hard, and but then to play for coach was, I saw early on that he was, like you say, he was tough, but he had a huge heart, and he just loved golf as much as I did and as much as you did, I think, and we were just all three different personalities, and he gave so much. So I would never be saying a mean thing about him. I would say he's tough, and maybe he doesn't. If somebody wants to, that maybe not the right personality for him, maybe it's not the right school at the time to go to. But I think he did everybody good, and even if you maybe didn't pursue golf in the end, he fought hard to get those guys that he maybe, or he probably didn't know that they were not going to make it, but if he saw somebody that was good at school, he pushed them really hard at school. So he was a father figure to a lot of us, and I know I could be angry at him, of course, but you're angry at your father too, and you're angry at everybody that cares for you, because they're gonna put you against the wall and they're gonna push you. So I'm probably on tour because of him, or maybe not the only person, like as I said, my parents or any coach that has helped me is part of it, but he's a big part of it. Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, because I think coaching is really, really important. And a player who goes through collegiate golf and he plays for a really great coach like Mike, eventually, whether it's at the time or many years later, you come to the realization that good coaching matters. It really does matter in your success.
Yeah, and I mean, a couple of things that he said that I still help me today, just things like, I only want to hear what you shot, because after a round we stood in a circle and we said, "What'd you shoot in qualifying?" And you were just supposed to say what you shot, and that's so helpful now, instead of having explanations for why you shot 75. Nobody really cares, and it doesn't matter. You just go out the next day and shoot lower, and find out why you didn't shoot 70 or 68 or whatever, what your goal is. But and he was always in the gym before us every morning. He always left the course after the last guy left, and he was in it, and we all understood that, and that's all you need, really. If then he gives the perfect advice every time, it doesn't matter. It's all about, I think, how the kids understand that you're fully in, and we gave, I think, all the guys I ever played with gave pretty much our all. I don't see any guys that slacked, and he never told us that we had to practice. We just had 4 gym sessions a week and a couple of qualifiers a week at the most, and then the rest of the time we could do whatever we wanted. But I don't think one guy ever didn't show up at the golf course. So it was amazing, you know.
Yeah, the expectation was pretty high. And I think when a coach sets those expectations, like this is what's expected of you, now go do it. He doesn't have to micromanage. He just knows you're going to
Yeah.
be there. And
Yeah.
but I will say this about you. I still have never seen anybody who just woke up and you had this amazing enthusiasm about trying to get better. And you didn't always work on the right stuff. But
No,
the
I still
attitude, no,
don't.
you did. Okay. But the attitude was, I'm trying to get better. Watch me. And I remember one
Yeah.
day you were in the video barn and you discovered we had gotten this new video system that had all these players at the top and you could click on their golf swing. And you found Lee Trevino's golf swing and you fell in love. It was like, wow, what a golf swing. And we had to pull you out of the video barn. You were in there so much. So
Yeah, I know. I was banned.
you were banned from it. I remember that. Did you have a 2-week ban on the video barn?
Yeah, but it was a good, like, if you guys are bored with this story, so be it. But it was a good story. I came back and I was complaining about something to coach that I wasn't agreeing on, and then we were allowed to pick a day when we qualified. So I told my friend, like, and coach wasn't happy with me at all of things I've done. I think I didn't listen to him about the ban of the video room and a couple of other things. And then I shot a 62 with Dayton, but I told him I wasn't gonna play that day, or it didn't count for the qualifying. And then obviously Dayton told coach, and he's like, okay, Alex shot 62. Oh my God, that's great. But he didn't say, that it was gonna qualify before. And then coach loved it. He loved it because I was never gonna shoot 62 again. And then the next time I played and I announced that I was gonna play, I actually shot the 61, and he was like, "That is my man. Now you can, when you're done here, you can get a place on the same road as me." And I was like, "Oh my God, that felt good. That felt good. That was probably amazing. the best moment of my college career, and it
Was
wasn't
that
even in a
Stillwater
tournament.
Country Club, the 61, Stillwater Country Club, right?
Yeah, it was a
Okay.
touch easier than Karsten.
Oh, I'm just saying, what a score. I will say this. You shot the first ever 65 in qualifying for Oklahoma State at Karsten Creek. One day you shot 65 in qualifying. I remember Mike and I were both stunned, and he was a little offended. He hated it when somebody would beat up that golf course. So I remember your first 65 there. So, Alex, it was a great experience for you at Oklahoma State, obviously, coming over and playing college golf. You got your degree in business marketing, and in 2005, you were an All-American, third-team All-American. So you kind of went into professional golf on a high note, I feel. And let's talk about your professional career. You played a lot of years on the European Tour. And I think let me just go through a few stats to see if I've got this right. You've won 10 or 11 times in Europe, I think. Is it 10 or 11?
10 on the European.
Okay. Yeah. You were in college, you were a Palmer Cupper. And as a professional, you were a World Cupper in 2011, 2016. You played in the Olympics in 2020 and the Ryder Cup in 2018. So you've had an amazing career as a professional. You honestly, I believe. And what has been the most thrilling of all of those team experiences that you had playing professional golf for a team?
Yeah, it must be the Ryder Cup. It was amazing. It was just it was everything I could have asked for. I was lucky to have that as my first and hopefully not my last. But I played that course for, I don't know, 12 years total before that. So, and it's a tough track, and I think it gave us an advantage because we played that French Open there so many times, and they made the course. The course is visually more intimidating than maybe when you actually play it, but yeah, it was amazing. And with the team we had and players that I always try to beat are now my teammates, and there were some pretty stellar players.
You made quite a putt on the 18th hole one round. I remember that. That's still a highlight reel. Talk about that moment in time.
Yeah, well, it was the last putt. we won the cup when I was on the 14th hole against DeChambeau, and I played good. And he played good, and we were very even throughout the match. And then I was 1 up going into 16. He kind of made a good putt on me to stay 1 up, 1 down, and then on 17 I had a chance to win the match. But then on 18 he stiffed the 6-iron, I think, to 2 feet, and I hit a 8-iron to 40 feet or something like that. And the thing was, I had a very similar putt in the French Open 2 months earlier, and which I just lipped out. And the more I looked at this putt, the more it reminded me of that putt in French Open. So I asked my caddy first, like, "Can you help me? Can you help me with the read?" And then after a while, I was like, "I think I got this one." And it looks so similar, maybe like a 2 cups outside the left, and I had to hold it to beat DeChambeau. And DeChambeau, I gave his 2 feet putt before I putted. So, and then I was like in the middle of the run for the hole, I was like, that looks good. It looks really good. And that looks amazing. Oh my God. Now it's gonna turn. And it was just like a fairy tale because we already won. I couldn't lose the match. I had everything to gain, sort of, and makes it easier, of course. But there's still so many people, and it was just amazing when it went in, and yeah, it was a egoistically happy moment for me, even though we won as a team. And I needed that a little bit because I lost the day before, and we won the first game, me and Sergio, and lost the second. And I was like that, because even from college, it was like, it's all about team play, yeah, but you need to contribute, individually to do it, and that felt great.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's watching you play professional golf. That was pretty much the highlight. I was obviously pulling for the United States, but I was thrilled for you when you made that putt. Okay, yeah. So I think your best qualities are discipline and enthusiasm and physical fitness. To me, that's what I think that have made you. You've got incredible enthusiasm. You're wonderfully disciplined, and I think you take physical fitness to a high degree. What do you think has been the biggest contributor to success in pro golf?
Yeah, I think they did a study on this now. Like I mentioned earlier, with doing different sports. I think in US, you guys are pretty good at it too. You have seasons for things. When you grow up, you have baseball season, football season, golf season, maybe in the summer. And I was lucky enough to have a bunch of sports available in Sweden. And I would say I'm better at sports than I am maybe technically sound in golf. And you saw me play a lot in college. I was out in the trees quite a lot. And so I never had an easy time on the long game. I think I've had probably a better, like, a hit on the ball than maybe accuracy always. So I loved other sports like ping pong, tennis, and anything. So I understand, I think, quite well how to get the ball to spin a certain way, to maneuver something. So I looked at the stats now. My best quality is a quality probably that's most unnecessary to have, but to get out of trouble. That was my highest stat. So I think that is probably what I'm best at. And then my attitude on, like you say, I want to be able to solve the rest of the puzzle. I want to be able to play like Rory, or go around a golf like maybe like Patrick Cantley did last week. Just if you hit 12 fairways and 16 greens, that would be amazing. Just have no sort of panic attacks during the day, and have no not wake up 4 a.m. wondering how the round is gonna be, and it's been a lot of tough nights, and I was laying and, you know, talking to my wife last night about this whole thing like you're asking now. It's just understanding what kind of player you are, and understanding like some people at this high level, there are going to be a lot of competition. So like a guy like Rory, gifted, you know, maybe he has things that he has to work harder on, easier on, and it's always like that, you know. And that's the whole puzzle with golf, even amateur, pro golf. You just totally have to understand what sort of player you are, understand that you have to maybe work hard on some things. Going back to, I met Mac O'Grady in 2014, and I've been working with his sort of assistant. And Mac O'Grady, by the way, is very similar to Coach Holder, personality-wise.
Just to interrupt, the first year that I was working for Mike in 1997, Mac still called Mike about twice a month.
Yeah.
And because he wanted to run these ideas to Mike Holder's mind, and it was crazy. Mac's got the most unbelievable mind in golf, period.
Yeah, and incredibly similar to Coach Holder, person. Well, yeah, like very similar in many ways. And I worked so hard on my technique in 14, 15, 16, and I actually got better. I got very much better because I had maybe the other ingredients, and I worked so hard on things that were so boring, and I wasn't allowed to play as much golf in my sort of practice time. I was just on the range, and I remember taking a lot of crap from all the pros here, especially here at Bears Club in Florida. There's a lot of pros, and they were like, "Are you ever gonna go out on the course?" And I was like, "I gotta solve this puzzle first. I gotta solve it." And it was boring. Everybody had fun going out on the course, and I was just stuck there on the range for 8 hours for 3 months in a row. And when I finally kind of got things in a way I wanted to, because I played, you know, so many years as a pro, waking up at 4 a.m, wondering how the round's going to be. I was like, I'm tired of this, and I'm sort of back in a similar place right now. I know my capabilities, and I was like, I want to be better than this. So I don't want to feel inferior at these different areas of the game. And so I'm in a sort of the same place again.
Well, Alex, after that little time you were talking about, you won 4 times in 2016. So it must have paid some dividends.
Yeah, it does. And that's the hard part, you know. You just have to figure out what you really need. And when I got to college, I needed a guy like Coach Holder, and now, you know, I needed somebody to tell me, you're not good enough on these wedges, and you need to work on it. And because it is easy to just do the same things as you always do, and it's just comfortable. And if you always speak about yourself the same way, you're gonna be the same. You know, you put yourself in a bracket. So I'm in a top 50 to 70 player the last 3 years, and I sort of haven't gotten out of it, and I'm a little bit tired of it. And I came to some conclusion. I can't just go on the same sort of route. And I think you go through that in life, in anything you do.
Yeah, well, the fact that you are thinking about it means you'll probably come out of this, I know. So I have another question. You've had several injuries that have sidelined you from time to time. So one of the things that I talk about to our players is the need to start acting like a professional. I mean, you know, you're a college kid, but you've got to start doing some things like a professional does it. And one of those things I've tried to do is, when you are injured, there's a professional way to go about rehab and getting back to health. So yeah. I want you to talk and speak to, because I have a lot of young players that listen to this. How do you handle injuries?
Yeah, I think you're totally right. I mean, and you probably have the people at your college that can take care of that. And I think it's the impatience probably from the players and from me in the past. And I think I can do this. And maybe the anxiety of thinking you're gonna lose your shots or your game if you take more time off, but just get healthy quick and in the best way possible and play as a healthy player, because it's not good to go around playing half injured and take advantage of the people at a school like you are at now, or when I was at OSU, we had great people and a great help, and it's gonna be tougher to get that help when you're a pro, because you have to pay for it yourself and you have to find those players or those coaches and physiotherapists, and just get healthy and once you get healthy, maybe try to prevent injuries and not always just go for the super strong. You got to have maybe the health comes first, like playing injury free comes first, and then strength and improvement second or something.
Thank you for that. I want my guys to understand that is like number one importance. When you are injured, your job as a golfer is to get healthy again.
Yeah.
So you've played 2 of the world's major tours full time. You played the European Tour for a long time, and in 2018 you transitioned to the PGA Tour. So you're a PGA Tour player now. Can you talk about that transition, and what was the hardest thing about that?
I think it's I did that in college. I was like almost tired of the pressure, or not tired of it, but once I got out of OSU, I was like, I've had a lot of pressure from team golf, and I had easier time in team sports, but individual sport like golf, and then being in a team environment and then especially playing for a good school like Oklahoma State, I was like, I need a bit of a break from that, and I didn't even consider staying in America, although I love the country at the time. And I went back to Europe, felt very free, and like nobody cares if I shoot a bad round, it's only me. So I had a decent career on the European Tour. Then I had the chance, if you're high enough ranked in the world, you get to play things in America, and I struggled coming over here those tournaments because it didn't really play to my strengths. My strengths were getting out of tough positions, scrambling. I hit enough good shots, and the wider the golf course, the better I was, so when it didn't come down to hitting in a tight fairway, and I was good at links golf when it was more like you could play different ways and be creative. So I always struggle at US Opens, at maybe WGCs at Akron, which is a US Open style course. And but then in 2016, that was my best year on the European Tour. Got me into more tournaments in 2017, and I didn't just play those extreme tough courses that in my mind. So I got to play other venues on the PGA Tour, and I understood that every course is not like this. So I had I was able to play better golf and had some good results in other PGA Tours events. And then in 18, I had a good start to the season, having some almost chances to win out here. And then I've been here since. Yeah. So just kind of like, played my way into it confidence wise too.
That's great. So, so that was a transition, and you've made it. And so you're now a full member of the PGA Tour. You love that. But I know something else that's really important to you is your family. So your wife, Jennifer, and your kids, Iris and Roy. I mean, this is like a major, major part of your life, which I think is fantastic. Remember, I only knew you as a single guy when you were at Oklahoma State, and I only knew you as that. But how has your family changed you as a person and as a player, to have this family you're responsible for?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing first, and it's just different it's different. But now, it was very different in the beginning, when we had Iris as a small baby, and then it changed the life a lot. And now you get so used to it after 6 years. She's 6 and Roy is 3. And the setup here in America is amazing. We live in Florida, great schools, great kindergartens, and my wife loves it here. So she's been a big help in loving being here and kind of make it easy for me. And then we go back to Sweden in the summer, maybe something in the winter. My extended family can come over here. It's not a bad place to have a holiday. So it's I think I'm in a good place. It's we work hard to, with the kids, like every parent do, or I feel like I'm in a sort of easier place with the kids now than it was in the beginning.
Have you introduced them to golf yet?
Yes, I've named my boy Roy after Roy McIlroy in Tin Cup, and I gave him this. He's addicted to the range. I got it. My wish went through. Maybe one day he'll own a driving range like Roy McIlroy. So, so he loves it. My daughter, she goes and she hits 5 balls and then she does gymnastics, but she loves the short grass so she can do her gymnastics. So, but it's fun that Roy likes it, and he's got some friends here that likes it. So we see each other after school and go out there. It's a great place. I mean, we're lucky. A golf course is a nice place to hang out. So,
well, and you've played well enough where you can enjoy some of this, that obviously. But I think it's wonderful when former players create or have families, and just kind of there's a whole nother side to you that we didn't know that now you get to see. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got to ask you about something.
Okay.
The photo on the internet of your hands that I think has almost become iconic. My guys ask about it all the time, like, this Alex Noren, did he just practice until his hands became mincemeat? I mean, what happened? Tell me about that photo. How did it get posted?
No, but it was my friend Christopher Broberg, who plays on the European Tour. He, especially after a day, when they get a little bit dirty playing with the mud off the club face and stuff, they look very bad. And they are pretty bad, and his hands are pretty bad. So he took a picture and just put it up. And it's a mix of hard training and like you said, dedication, but a lot of anxiety, and a lot of dedication just to. And I said, if people sort of asked me, I was like, they wouldn't look like this if I hit it like Rory McIlroy. So. So I think that's the truth. I mean, I don't putt. I've always had an easier time putting, and people say like, oh, this guy putts for 2 hours a day. I putt for maybe 40 minutes a day. And I don't, as people would say, you've got a bad back from putting, but my place, I need to hit a lot of balls to be competitive. And maybe the club like slides around a little bit, so maybe friction. I don't know, but it's just that's how it is.
Well, I can tell you this: I miss some things. I don't miss about competitive golf at all, like 75. I don't miss that score at all. But I do miss calluses I had on my hands, because my hands are almost like a concert pianist. I mean, they're just soft and smooth now, and they haven't had the rigors. And I used cord grips too. So I want to do as much damage to my hands as possible.
Yeah. So, but I bet you like the Hogan story when the kid was it the kid that came up to him in the locker room and he's like, I don't understand. I practice this much and I can't get better. And then Hogan said, let me see your hands, kid. And then he showed him, and he said, and then Hogan showed his hands, and he said, when you come back and your hands look like this and you still have a problem, we can talk about it. And it says something about it. I mean, I remember when that picture was posted by my friend, then Tiger for some reason saw it, and then Tiger I don't know Tiger very well, but he's a very kind guy to me, and I see him every once in a while. So he came up to me in the locker room somewhere, and he said, "Alex, can I see your hands?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." To my idol, Tiger. So I showed him, and he goes, "Yeah, not too bad." And I was like, "There we go. Finally, somebody who's not impressed by my hands, or disgusted by them." But he was just like, "I understand."
I mean, he gets it. He hits that
He
many
gets
balls
it.
too,
I mean,
Yeah.
he probably hit more, but then my coach is the same, and I asked my coach, who's a Norwegian right now. I've used him, like we worked on and off for the last maybe 8 years. I said to him, or he told me, "How much do you practice right now?" And he said, I was like, I had to have two gloves, one on each hand because it was hurting so bad on the right hand. He's like, "Yeah, I use two gloves too." And I was like, "Yeah, you always use two." Yeah, he's like, "On each hand."
Well, how do you get feel with two gloves on a hand?
I know. So I'm not
That's
the worst.
great. Well, when I saw that photo when it was first posted, I don't remember when it was. And one of my players said, "What did this guy play at Oklahoma State?" I said, "He did." And that photo doesn't surprise me one bit. It should look
Yeah.
like that if you hit that many golf balls. So
Yeah. And then I searched I'm not putting myself in the same category as Nadal sports wise, but have you seen his hands?
I
Pretty
have not.
bad.
I need to
Pretty
look at
bad.
that photo. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. Yeah. Well, but anyway, the hands tell the story. You don't need to tell anybody how hard you practice. Your hands tell that story.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, Alex, we're going to end on a speed round. But first, before we do that, and that's questions I haven't prepared you for, but you'll have to just think on the fly. But I just want to thank you for, spending an hour with me here today. This has been great catching up.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
All right, you ready for the speed round?
yeah.
All right. Favorite soccer or football club? Oh, come on.
Yeah. Gordon.
Okay. My assistant coach is Mikkel. His favorite is Manchester United. That's his favorite. Yeah. If you couldn't be a pro golfer, what would you choose to be as an athlete, or just choose to be anything?
I'd love to race cars.
Okay. You love speed.
Yeah.
What's your club head speed right now?
It's not
Driver.
very good. Like if I get it to 120, I'm happy.
Well, I got a bunch of college players that get it to
I
120.
know.
You need to work
I'm
out.
old. I'm like double their age.
You are double their age. There's no doubt about it. Favorite music in college, Willie Nelson or Britney Spears?
I must say Willie Nelson. That was a great ride with you.
Poor Alex, I must confess, he injured that wrist we talked about earlier in the podcast, and he had to go down to Edmond about 2 days a week for a month. And I took him down there every time, and I made him listen to Willie Nelson the whole way. He hated that. So, oh well. But you did like Britney Spears. You thought she was cute. I remember that.
Yeah, now in times, taking the toll on her too. That's the same as me.
It happens. All right, your go-to, Chipotle or Chick-fil-A?
Chipotle.
Okay. Shawshank Redemption or Remember the Titans? Which would you watch?
Shawshank.
Great movie.
Yeah.
Favorite pro golfer? I think you just told me.
Yeah, it's Tiger.
Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
I like it. He's a favorite of everybody.
I watched that VHS, the 2000 all four majors.
Yeah.
I watched it so much. My mom is like, "You gotta stop watching that. You're gonna get weird soon."
Well, I mean, I watched it a bunch too. That guy was unbelievable.
Amazing. Yeah.
Favorite athlete in other sports? Favorite athlete?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very, very impressed by Steph Curry, like Federer, Nadal, Max Verstappen now in racing, which is F1. But yeah, Steph Curry is very intriguing to me, like inspiring.
All right, favorite Coach McGraw quirk, because there's so many. Like, what do you remember?
Like for an adult, like you were when I was in college, to say, "Can you punch me in the stomach as hard as you can?" I'm like, yeah. Are we both 4 years old right now?
Did you ever hurt me? I don't recall it ever
No,
hurting.
that was amazing strength that you had.
All right. Well, that's back in the
Maybe
day.
still have.
I'm in my 60s, so let's just move that
Yeah.
on from there.
Yeah.
Favorite golf course you've played in professional golf?
Oh, well, I think Riviera is amazing. I'm very, very interested in how Carson Creek's going to be.
Yeah, they're going to make a change up there, so that
Yeah.
may be your favorite eventually.
Yeah,
Who knows?
I mean, that's a special place to me.
All right. Tournament you'd most like to win?
U.S. Open.
U.S. Open. Wow, you've had more success in the Open Championship than
Yeah,
the
but
U.S.
that's
Open.
because my game fits it. I'm gonna trust me. I'm trying my hardest to make it fit the U.S. Open, and it wouldn't. No, like I would be so happy if I ever did that. And
well, I would be happy for you. How about that?
Yeah.
Okay, final question. Your dream foursome, you and 3 other people, who would they be? And they could be dead or alive. They don't have to be alive.
Yeah, I'm gonna say those guys that I want to pick the brains of Federer. I don't care how he plays. I don't really care if he just walks. And then Steph Curry. I know he's good at golf. Yeah, and I never played with Tiger, so I'm gonna say Tiger.
Okay, we'll see about getting that. That'd be a great foursome to get that arranged, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, Alex, I'm going to tell you this in front of my listeners. My players all through the years have always asked about you. I said, well, I was just the assistant coach when he was in college, but you're kind of an intriguing individual, an amazing guy, one of the hardest working guys and most disciplined players I've ever coached. So thank you for that example you've shown my players. And
you're trying to boost my confidence. I like it.
Well, yeah, you need a coach to tell you that you're okay. There's 4 words that really, really matter to every player. I believe in you. And there's waffles in the background, right?
I know. He finally made a noise and ruined this little ending of the podcast. But I know you like dogs.
We do like dogs. We've got only 3 right now, so we're okay.
Yeah.
Alex, thanks again. Best of luck the coming year, and I do appreciate you joining me today.
Thank you so much.